So find a comfortable seat if you aren't there already. It can be helpful if you like to sit up on a cushion, a block, folded blanket. And if it feels better to uncross your legs, to have them out long, that's cool too. But just for now, roll the shoulders back and down, find that inner lift of your heart, a slight nod of your chin. As we soften our gaze downwards or close the eyes. Settling in with your breath. Exhaling, imagining your sits bones getting a little wider as you really ground down to that supportive and nurturing energy of the earth below you. Inhaling, finding that inner lift of the heart, the crown of the head. We begin to breathe the length of the spine. Earth, sky, axis. In our yoga practice, we have pranavayus, or the winds, the direction, movement, the breath of the energy, and that upward prana action of the heart, fire, and the downward energy of apana, water, down and out. So we start to unite, meet in the middle, the center of our belly. Using our breath as a tool. Here in our yin yoga practice, we play the edge. We find a little bit of sensation. We're not seeking, we're not chasing. More is not always more. But to find that edge, to play a little there, and then we hold for longer durations of time to help us to get into those deeper layers, physically into the connective tissue of our fascia, the tendons, the ligaments, the joints of our body. But using the breath as the barometer to know when maybe we've gone a little bit too far, to pull back, to readjust. Or if it's safe to go a little bit more, it doesn't feel risky. Emptying all breath out, blinking the eyes open, lifting your chin. Inhale, spread the arms wide. Exhale, wrap them around, give yourself a big hug. Inhale, breathing into your hands, that inner lift of your heart, the crown of your head. Exhale, turn your head to look over either shoulder. Stay for a breath. Inhale, gaze comes back to neutral. We spread the arms wide, heart lifts a little. Exhale, re-wrap your hands. New arm on top. Inhale deeply into your hands. Exhale, turn your head that second side. Let's do one more each side. Inhale to expand, to open. Exhale to wrap the arms. Inhale, fill up. Exhale to turn the head, just finding a little bit of sensation in your neck. staying for a breath. Inhale through center. Exhale to rewrap, new hand on top. Inhale, breathe into your hands. Encourage a little more movement in the side ribs. Exhale to turn to the second side. Maybe one side of your neck is feeling a little different than the other. Inhaling back through center. When you're ready, open the arms wide. Exhale, tipping to either side. You can mirror me or not, it's all good. Inhale, spin from your core, your belly, your chest a little more towards the ceiling. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears. Inhale, high through center, big reach. Exhale, on over to your second side. The gaze is wherever it feels good on your neck. Inhale through center, big reach. As you exhale, press to the heels of your hands as if you could push the sides of the room wider. And all the way down, coming forward into your tabletop position. If you need to cushion under your knees, you can grab another sticky mat or tuck a blanket under, just being comfortable there. And the same, if you need to cushion under your wrists, maybe you drop the elbows down to a stack of blocks or roll up the front edge of your mat. But for now, let's start with our fingers facing forward and finding a little bit of arch and hollow in our spine, a little bit cat-cow. Take this off so you can see. Just moving with your breath. They're not going to be the biggest expressions we've ever made. Continuing this little cat-cow flow, it's starting to turn your hands out away from one another, any amount that feels good. So we move into a different sensation across our wrists, forearms, through the shoulders, the chest, and the upper back. Hands can stay exactly as they are, or you might start to play an experiment with spinning your fingers back to face towards the knees. And you can stay with this front to back movement. I like to draw little circles with the ribs. You take these barrel rolls and see if you can lead with breath. As you come around, switching the direction. Yourself back through center, more neutral, peeling your hands up off the floor, giving them a little shake, planting the wrists back under the shoulders, and then dropping the elbows down where the wrists just were. So elbows under the shoulders. This will be stop one for us. Big inhale. Exhale, soften, melt your heart, the front and the back side between your shoulder blades down towards the mat. We might stay here for our puppy pose or heart melting posture. If you need a little more sensation, you can start to climb the arms out front. Releasing the forehead, the mouth, or the chin, maybe even your chest, depending how open you are, down towards the earth. Settle in with sensation, looking for that Goldilocks zone. So we don't want to feel nothing, but there should never be any pain. We shouldn't be fighting against props or the earth. So find that place where you can be fairly passive. And come back to the barometer of your breath, checking in. One more minute here. Is there anywhere at all that you could soften? Physically, mentally, emotionally? As we've changed the shape of the thoracic cavity, it might be a little bit harder to take those full deep breaths. Imagining your hands on the sides of your ribs like we did earlier. Breathe into the side body, into the side ribs, the armpits. Breathing into that resistance. As you empty out your next breath, press down into the mat. Lift your chest up a little, look forward, dragging your belly, your hips all the way down to the mat. We'll start to stack the elbows under the shoulders for our Sphinx pose. And then tucking the chin down towards the notch of your throat. And playing with where your elbows are. If your low back is a little tender, it might feel nicer for you to move the elbows more forward. And taking just the first few breaths here, finding a bit of stretch to the back of the neck, the mid-upper back. Using the expansion of your lungs to find more space between the shoulder blades, between the ribs. Depending how you're feeling, You might choose to stay exactly as you are. Another option might be to begin to lift the gaze forward, opening the front of the throat, the front of the neck. If we need a little bit more, we could always take our feet, our toes towards the back corner of the mat, our hands towards the front corners, and begin to straighten the arms to our seal pose. The farther your hands are away, the less intense on the back. And if you need a little more, of course, you could walk your hands a little closer. Let the shoulders glide down the back. And if you need to feel like you're moving a little deeper, you could always use your eyes. You could look up and back. Three more breaths wherever you are. Slow bending your elbows, unraveling all the way down. Chin, nose, forehead coming to rest on the earth. Sliding your hands near your shoulders. Big breath to press yourself to table. Bring the big toes to touch and take your knees fairly wide, wider than your hips, about my distance or so, usually works well. Sink your hips back towards your heels. Climb your arms out front, resting the forehead down towards the mat. If your forehead's not quite touching the earth just yet, you could always stack your hands up to make a home for your head. Tuck a block or a firm pillow under. Stay for one more minute here, checking back in with your breath, your body. It can be really easy to check out in this practice as we hold for longer periods of time. Check in. breath. Making your way back through table. And then we're gonna step the left foot forward. I'm not mirroring you, heads up. So we're gonna step our left foot forward, starting to stack the knee on top of the elbow. And just play with this stride for yourself. So if you're a bit tight in your hip flexors, through your hips, your low back, maybe you have a tender knee, you might need to bring the knee a little bit closer, shortening the stride. If there's tension on the knee or the top of the ankle through your foot, you could always tuck a towel or a blanket under for a bit more padding, a bit more cushion. Blocks can also come in handy here. They help to lift the mat up. Coffee cans, pets would work, textbooks. Allow your hip to get heavy. And even if you are using your arms to hold yourself a little bit more upright, that's all right. Keep your body safe. Encourage the shoulders to slide down the back. Invited to stay exactly where you are. If you have healthy ankles, knees, you need to move a little bit more mobility there. The next option would be to take this into the overstepping dragon. So all we do is start to sit the left sits bone, the left hip closer to its own heel. So shifting your weight forward until your left heel, your front heel starts to get a little bit light. You might climb yourself up onto the front thigh. It could be propped with a hard surface underneath so you have a little bit of something to sit on to take some of the pressure off. Finding that Goldilocks, that zone, that sweet spot for your own body. One last one to go here. If you're in the overstepping or over lunge dragon, just shifting your hips back a little bit. Move your right knee back. Right hand goes out to the side. Belly, chest spins to the left. So we add a little bit of a twist to our winged dragon. Personal preference, I like to spin my left toes out on about a 45 or so and roll to the pinky toe side of my foot, letting the knee fall open. You could even press the thigh away. If it's not good with your wrist, drop the elbow down onto a prop or the mat, even if flexibility allowed. This, of course, is a great place to jump off the bus. You still need to add in, for whatever reason, you can take a big hamstring curl on your back right leg. The right arm begins to reach around. You can grab the outside pinky toe side or the inner arch of your back foot with your thumb facing down. Catching the back foot can start to add a bit of stretch into the chest wall, the front of your shoulder.
fill up. Sigh through an open mouth. Release your back foot if you have hold. Look at the mat. Unravel your twist. Turn your left toes back in. We can be on the inside of our front leg now, so we're a little bit wider. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, slowly shift your hips back to half split. And just do that a few times with breath. Your hands might travel. You might use some props to lift up the mat. Do what's best on your wrists and your shoulders. Inhale, lunging forward. Exhale to shift back. I like to pull my toes back and catch the heel. But if you need more stretch on the front of your ankle, across the top of your foot, you might choose to keep your toes down, pressing the ball of the foot into the mat instead. Exhale, we'll stay in that half split position, Ardha Hanuman, or half monkey. And toes might be down, toes might be pulling back. I like mine a tiny bit more dynamic. I like to turn my thigh bone in the hip joint. Slow, yin-like, fluid. In breath, we'll shift our weight forward. Plant your hands about shoulder distance or so. If it's not good for you to bear weight on your wrists, your shoulders, no problem. Just take child's pose like we did earlier. Otherwise, a short down dog can feel really nice. So we'll step ourselves back. The stance a little bit more narrow than maybe what you're used to. And then go ahead and pedal out your feet, bending one knee, pressing the opposite heel down. Take a breath. And switch. Releasing the knees back to the mat if you're up in dog, or lifting back to the knees if you're in child's. We'll lunge our right leg forward. Beginning with the knee stacked on the ankle just for now. And then we have two hip joints. They have their own stories to tell. So finding that sweet spot on the second side. If you're using props, it might look different. Back hip get heavy, the shoulders slide down the back, even if you're using your arms to hold you more upright. Cushioning the back knee or back ankle if they start to cause you grief. In with that sensation, which maybe becomes intense. Stay with your breath, but it should never be painful. We refer to this generally as the pedicure adjusting posture. Resist. Come back to your breath. Good where you are, stay. Otherwise, we can take the next moment into that overstepping or over lunging dragon. We slide the back knee a little more forward as we start to park the right buttocks behind its heel until you feel the heel start to get light. We might adjust our props. You might use a prop for something to sit on to take some of the pressure off. Finding that sweet spot for your own body. It might not look the same as the first side. More breaths here. Slowly. You might be in a hurry to come out. Move slow. Shift the hips back a little. Shift your back knee back if it was moved forward, planting your left hand or elbow down where it can be comfortable, and actively press the floor away a little bit. Spinning the right toes, personal preference. I like to spin my toes off the long edge of the mat and let the knee fall open. Pressing the thigh away, creating a bit of a twist. Great place to jump off the bus. If you need to add in, hamstring curl on the back side. Reach around to catch the back foot, pinky toe side. Or if it's available, catch the inside arch, the big toe side with your thumb facing down to move a little more stretch into the chest wall, the front of your shoulder. You can embody a little bit of that wood element, that pulling aspect. Element of spring. Big inhale. Sigh through an open mouth. You have a hold of your back foot, no slingshot. Unravel your twist. Turning your right toes more forward if they're open. Stacking your hands, inhale. Exhale to slowly shift your hips back. Linking and syncing up those two movements with your breath. Checking in with your back knee, it feels okay to rock the weight across it. No hurry to get there. The next time you find your half split position, stay for a few cycles of breath. Stretching the underside of your front thigh. Personal preference, I like to turn my thigh bone. Choose the option that's good for you. back forward. Planting the hands really well, stepping back to that short dog or child's pose.
Yogi's choice. If you're up in dog, you can take it for a walk, pedaling through your feet, bending one knee, taking a breath, rooting the opposite heel down.
Releasing the knees if you're up in dog, or pressing up to the knees if you are back in child's, and however you need to. You can cross your ankles and sit back, sweep your legs around to one side or the other. I'll go square. So finding your feet about hip distance or so. And I'm not mirroring you. Let's cross the left ankle over the right thigh. So we're gonna work into our square or double pigeon fire log pose. And if that's not great for your knees, hips, back, come on to your back and take a figure four instead. Stop one, it's right here. Next up on the bus is to take your left shin or your top shin directly in front. So here's where our feet start to line up with the tops of our thighs. So the shin bones are lining up to the long or short edge of your mat, and we have a bit of a triangle inside. If the heels duck in tight, we start to lose the stretch on the outer hip, which is what we're looking for. And the last step on this bus, of course, is to step shin on top, ankle on knee, knee on ankle. If there's a bit of space, you just tuck like your jacket, sweater, block, prop. In any of the positions, you can add a bit of tilt, a hinge at your hip, a little bit of fold. Imagining, pretending that you could breathe all the way down into the bowl of your pelvis. Flushing and washing away any tightness, any tension that may arise. As if your breath was like water. Three more full breaths. Inhaling, stacking your shoulders over your hips. If you folded forward, just walking your hands back behind to unravel your legs. Give them a little shake. And then we'll take Dandasana or stack pose. Flex your ankles, pull your toes back towards your belly. Press your hands down. Depending on the length of your torso and your arms, you might be up on your fingers. You may need to bend your elbows slightly. But take your shoulders back, broaden your collarbones, and lift up your chest. One more breath, and then we'll do the second side. So cross our right ankle over our left thigh. Just make sure you have a new top shin. And this might be where we're jumping off the bus today. We add a little bit of fold, some support for the top knee. The next stop, of course, is to stack right shin in front of left shin. The heels of the feet are pushing away from one another, not tucking in towards the body, or we'll lose it on that nice hip stretch. And the last stop, of course, is that fire log or stacked position, heel on knee, knee on heel. There's a bit of space. We can always take a little shim there. Inhale. Exhale, tilt of the pelvis if you need to add in, but go slow. We're in no hurry. Settling in with your breath. Using it as a tool, of course, to keep you present, something to focus on, along with the direct sensation. But it'll let you know if you've gone a little too far, to back out a little bit. Three more conscious, full breaths. Stay with it. Inhaling, starting to stack your shoulders over your hips, maybe even a little bit farther back as we unravel our legs. Give them a shake. Bending the knees with the feet wide. Your hands can face out on 90s towards the body, whatever feels comfortable on your wrists, your shoulders. Just take them back a little, giving a little windshield wipe to the knees, to the hips. Our last posture,
We can build ourselves a heart bench if we have some props available, and if not, don't worry, we'll just take reclining butterfly down on the back. If you're using blocks, you have a few options. Tender spine, curvature of the spine. You may wish to take your block horizontally on the low edge. You'll have the top block to rest for your head. The block will landmark around the shoulder blades so they rest on top. The top block is adjusted to support your skull, your neck. And then we'll find the bottoms of the feet together with the knees falling open. Your back is feeling all right. Another option would be to take onto the medium height of your block on the vertical. Medium height of the block horizontal for your head. The same, the bottom edge of the block is going to landmark around the tips of your shoulder blades. So we're moving into the thoracic, the upper spine. Just nestling the blades on either side of the block, arms fall open. Playing with the position of your feet. If they're farther away from your body, that will be less intense. If they're closer, that might add more intensity, sensation in. If you have a fancy bolster, you're welcome to use that. Couch cushion, a pillow, even a folded up towel works quite nicely. Taking as much time as you need to settle in. Your arms can stay open wherever they're comfortable. You could place your hands on your inner hip creases, a little heat, being quite soothing. Hands on the belly, one on the heart, one on the belly, or both on the heart. So finding that place that's calling for you. Back with your breath. At ease. We often think of stress as a bad thing, a negative thing. But it can be a really positive thing. Those of you that are with me here live, I know a lot of you pick things up and put them down for fun. It's a positive stress. We're progressively loading the tissues to get stronger. We've just done the same thing here throughout this practice. To build stronger, healthier joints, more flexible and supple tissue. Always a good thing. In our yin practice, we often sequence around the Taoist principles and traditional Chinese medicine around the meridian lines. There's quite a lot of postures that stimulate the liver and the gallbladder lines of our body, the inner thighs to the groins. Correlating with the springtime, renewal.
these last few minutes here together, you're very welcome to stay in your reclined butterfly or up on your heart bench. If you prefer, just close up the knees. Yeah. Push the blocks out from under you and take a few moments down on your back in Shavasana, corpse pose. Each passing exhalation, inviting a deeper sense of calm, of ease, releasing, letting go, physically, mentally, energetically. Stresses serve their purpose. We don't need to carry them forever. Lay down anything that you no longer need to make space for something new. If you're at home with me here now, watching the recording, please take as much time as you need to slowly bring yourself back. Gently wiggle your fingers and your toes to roll onto whatever side might be calling you. And take a few breaths in an easy seated position whenever you're ready. The beautiful thing about being at home is that you can stay as long as you like. I'll sign off. Thank you for joining me, whether now or on the recording. Namaste. Mahalo.